Effective monitoring plays a crucial role throughout the development lifecycle and in application support. That's why I am here with a new tutorial focusing on setting up comprehensive monitoring tools like Node Exporter, Prometheus, and Grafana. This setup will keep a close eye on your Tomcat server using Terraform, Ansible, and Jenkins automation tool. Will streamline the creation of monitoring infrastructure and deploy the necessary tool automatically. Hi, and welcome to Takniki Gyan Guru. So before we begin, I would like to ask again, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. So without any further delay, let's go. So first of all, we will understand the prerequisites of the this setup, right? So one by one, we will understand the prerequisite. First, the AWS. So in AWS, what we need is first of all we need AWS access key and secret key. This access key and secret key will use when the Terraform will connect with AWS and then create the infrastructure, like we want to create Tomcat server and the monitoring server. So for that, creating the infrastructure, we would require access key and secret key in AWS and the PAM file. PAM file is required when we will configure the or install our node exporter, Grafana or Prometheus. Then we the our machines need an access to the AWS machine servers, right? Like Tomcat server and the monitoring server. So for that, to connect the Ansible to the server, we need a PEM file and a username, right? So username will be the Ubuntu, PEM file is required. So Ansible is required to connect with the your our machine in AWS. Next, prerequisites in Jenkins, right? So first of all, we would create a Jenkins pipeline and we will create a Jenkins node. So in this video, we will not create a Jenkins node. I have already set up a Jenkins node, so we'll use that one. If you want, you can watch my previous video where I have already shown you how to create a Jenkins node in Ubuntu. Next one is credentials for access key and secret key as environment variable. So first, these access key and secret key we will not directly use anywhere. We will use as an environment variable in our node, right? A Jenkins slave server or node server, where we will use our credentials. So where we will put our credential, we will put our credential in Jenkins credentials section, right? So and we will get those credential and then inject into environment variable so that our node can get the access key and secret key at the runtime and then create the infrastructure and configure the infrastructure. Two time we would need. One is when we create the infrastructure, then we would need, and here we will use dynamic inventory in Ansible. What is dynamic inventory we will discuss later. So in that case also we would need this access key and secret key. The Jenkins node. So inside the Jenkins node we should install the Git. We have to install Ansible, we have to install Terraform, we have to install Ansible dynamic inventory. That is basically this required the Python, pip, and Boto 3. So Boto 3 is required. So for Boto 3, if you want to install Boto 3, we need to install pip, and before pip we need to install the Python, right? So this will complete our requirement for Ansible dynamic and inventory. What is Ansible dynamic inventory? So let's understand. First of all, uh, whenever we are creating the infrastructure, the AWS like Ubuntu server and node server, it will generate some public IP, right? Those IP we would need in our Ansible. So it would have some manual intervention. We have to copy the IP address from the either from AWS and then or from the Terraform output, right? So copy and then we will push this IP address into the host file, right? In the inventory host file. That is again a manual intervention. So we will remove that intervention using an Ansible dynamic inventory, where it will go, we have the Python code where we will create a method where we'll collect all these IP address from the AWS, a running IP address from the AWS, and then we will get the public IP, private IP, and the tag. Based on the tag, we will create the AWS machine with the tags, and using those tags we will get our host here, right? So we'll discuss more details in later section, right? So this will, minimize our manual intervention to copy our IP address from AWS or output file from Terraform to Ansible. So here we don't need to manage any inventory file. Now the last prerequisite is GitHub. Inside the GitHub, we will create the repository, and the repository will should have the Jenkins file and the Terraform script, Ansible script, and the dynamic inventory script. So this Jenkins file will automate our Terraform and Ansible, right? It will automatically run our Terraform script and Ansible script and dynamic inventory script, and create the infrastructure in one way. We will create the infrastructure, deploy this tool, or create this tool, right? So this way we will understand the prerequisite in later section, right? So let's understand the architecture. So how we'll do it. So first of all, in AWS, our requirement is we have to create two machine. In the first machine, Tomcat server. In this Tomcat server, we'll install the Tomcat server, and then we will install a node exporter. Node exporter will, get all these metrics from this Tomcat server. In this Tomcat server, we'll install the node exporter, and node exporter will get all these matrices and push into the monitoring tool. In the monitoring server, another server will create monitoring server. We will host the Prometheus and Grafana. Prometheus will connect with the node exporter, get all the matrices, and then it will push to the Grafana. In using Grafana, we will create a dashboard to show these details, right? So this way we will monitor this whole server, right? The CPU, RAM, whatever we want to monitor, we can monitor the server. Anything goes wrong, we can directly go set up some alert into the Grafana to notify us, right? So that we will not go to that, go to set up these alerts and all those things. Just we will install this, and we'll see how to monitor in Grafana with this one example. Right, we understood the requirement of this. Now how we will do it. So first of all, in AWS we will create the access key and secret key, and then we will create a PEM file in AWS. Now we'll create an infrastructure code pipeline where we will create the EC2 machine with Ubuntu, using the IAC script that will create the infrastructure using Terraform. So Terraform will create the in this infrastructure as a infrastructure as a code, and then we'll go for the configuration management, where the what we'll configure. We will install Tomcat, will install a node exporter. This Apache Tomcat and node exporter will install into this Tomcat server, and Prometheus and Grafana will be installed into the monitor server. These are the configuration management script that will install Tomcat, Node Exporter, and Prometheus and Grafana using Ansible and dynamic inventory. And this whole section, right? This whole section will be inside our Jenkins node. So inside the Jenkins node, what we will do it, we will install Terraform, we will install Ansible, we will install Git, we'll install Python Boto 3, that is Ansible dynamic inventory actually. So this node will be configured, and then we will go to the Jenkins, and Jenkins will create a pipeline. That pipeline will, in this pipeline we will have all these, scripts will run, and we will, first of all we will set up the Jenkins node and define the environment variable as credentials, the access key and secret key. So, and this pipeline will run the Terraform and Ansible script with dynamic inventory. We will, write our Terraform and this code into the Visual Studio Code, and then we will push code to the GitHub. So we will not write this code now. We will show you how to understand the code in Visual Studio. I have already pushed our code into the GitHub. So I have already created some of the video where how to, write in Visual Studio, install the Visual Studio, push code from Visual Studio to GitHub. So I will not go, otherwise it will be very long video, right? So I will not push the code from here, and then we'll um, run the job, and this job will get the code, pull the code from the GitHub and push into the our Jenkins node, and then start, you know creating the infrastructure and install these monitoring tools, and then we will go and test these tools in the browser, right? So you can download our code from https colon double slash github.com technique gangru slash setup monitoring dot git. So it's time for the demo. Let's go and check it out. Now we are in Visual Studio Code. We'll understand the code first. So first of all, we can see in the folder structure we have the Tomcat and the Ubuntu folder and the Jenkins file. Let's understand the Ubuntu folder. This Ubuntu is basically we have the infrastructure code Terraform file main.tf. Only one file we have. So let's click on main.tf. What we are doing, we will not discuss more into that. We have already created a lot of videos on Terraform, so you can go and watch how to create EC2 machine, right? So this is the provider. So we are not using access key secret key here. As we discussed, we will use the environment variable in Jenkins. BPC we are creating here, subnet resource security group, right? This security group is important. So let's discuss. Ingress we are giving SSS access to this. So this machine, two of the machine, if we want to test, we can use the SSH by this 22 port, right? We are opening the 22 port, and this one is basically my IP address, right? So I can go and check all these machine and IP address. So I'm giving my IP address to access this, and this is important. Basically I want to see the ingress port. So what I'm doing is I am giving, first of all, we are creating two machine, right? So by default these two machine cannot interact with each other. So what we need to do is we need to give the access to each other with any port, right? So the cider block, right? AWS BPC technique can group BPC. This BPC cider block, like cider block. Inside this cider block, all these machine will be accessible. You can see this cider block. The BPC cider block is 10.0.0.1.16. Any machine created inside this BPC will be accessible, right? This one. So let's understand. I will open a MS. I will I will give you an example later, right? So let's understand first, then I will give you an example. So this will give you all these access to all these machine. Like what we need to do is we need to access the Prometheus and the node exporter connect with each other using the private IP address. So that's why we need to connect these machine with each other. We are creating two machine. One is the we are tagging it Tomcat server. This is important. Using this tag, we are identifying where we are installing what, right? So the Tomcat server, we are installing the Tomcat and node exporter, and the monitoring server, we are installing Prometheus and Grafana, right? So these two server we are creating, and tag is important. Then with the internet gateway route table, the association between these two public IP, we are you know, printing the public IP of the Tomcat and monitoring. So it is not required here, just to show you, right? So this will create two machine, Tomcat server and monitoring server, right? This is understood. Next is Tomcat. So first of all, we understand the um, dynamic inventory, right? So we have created one Python file like ec2.py. This will create a dynamic inventory file for the Ansible, right? So if we are not providing any dynamic inventory, we have to choose either the host file, or we need to create our own dynamic file where we have to give the host name and the IP address, or roles, whatever. So we don't want that, right? So what we want is, as soon as the machine is created, name tag was the Tomcat server in Terraform and the monitoring server, right? So here what we'll do is, first of all, we will use the Voto 3 to this resource. What resource we are getting? The EC2, and then we will filter which resource we want. We will filter the running resource. Will all the running instances will get here in the instances section. So we will get all these running instance. And the inventory, the format of the inventory is meta host var. Here we will have the host, a public IP address of the host. Monitoring server, we have the monitoring server and Tomcat server, right? The monitoring server host mean the we will push the public IP of the monitoring server, and in the var section we will push put the private IP address here. Again, the Tomcat server we will have host, in the host section we will have the um, public IP and private IP. So monitoring server, Tomcat server. So when we will use this monitoring server, it will in the host section it will have the public IP, and then for the private IP, the Tomcat server. Then we will have some, Tomcat server 0. We have some format to get the private IP. So I will discuss later when we will get this details, right? So once the inventory, this is the inventory format, right? In this format we'll get the data. So for instance, this is the all the instance, right? We'll loop through all these instance one by one, and then get the tags of from the instance, and then we'll split the tags. If there are multiple tags, then we'll split multiple tag, right? So here we have only one tag. So we'll have the public IP and private IP, and the inventory file. This inventory, right? This set default name host and var, right? So inside the host and var, we'll push our first of all inventory name. Name is the monitoring server, which is the matching one, right? Monitoring server. Host will be public IP, and the monitoring server then private IP. Similarly, the meta is host for public IP. We'll put the public IP in the meta, right? What we will do in the meta, public IP Ansible user Ubuntu and Ansible SSH private key monitoring. So we are using monitor.pem file to connect with the user. So we have already created this PAM file in our AWS. So as per your, you can change your PAM file name here, and I'm using Ubuntu. If your user is different, you can give the username for that your machine, right? So you can change here. Apart from this, everywhere everything will be same. If you have multiple machine, you can give the machine names here, right? We can also get these name in the environment variable, that environment variable to automate these things also. So maybe we'll in later videos we will use all environment variable, right? So now this will return our inventory file. This inventory file will use. So this is in the Tomcat file, root file, we have the ec2.py. Inside this, we have the playbooks. So what are the playbooks we have? First of all, we'll talk about Tomcat. This will install the Tomcat into the Tomcat server, right? So if you can see, so host name is Tomcat. So the inventory file will, we will use the inventory file. From the inventory file, we have the Tomcat host. From the Tomcat host, we will get the public IP and use that public IP here, right? Host name. Ubuntu, the remote user is Ubuntu. These are some of the variable like user, group, and the private key file monitor.pam. So we'll use later in this section. So what task we are doing? First of all, we are updating the package using apt-get update. Then we are installing for Tomcat. We have to install the jdk. So we are using openjdk 11 here. First of all, install the jdk, then we will download Tomcat. The version we are using 10.1.25. So as per your requirement, you can change your Tomcat version. You can go into the Tomcat official website and get the URL and put the URL here, and based on the folder name, you can put this folder name over here. So from URL will move our file into the temp folder, and then we'll extract this folder, right? So source is this, temp this, and then we will extract this folder into opt folder slash opt folder, and then we'll give the permission. The opt apache dot this will extract this folder opt dot apache tomcat 10.1.23, right? And we will give the owner permission to the Tomcat user. If you can see, we have defined the variable Ubuntu, group Ubuntu, and this is the key file, right? So owner will be Ubuntu, group will be Ubuntu, and this is the owner permission for this folder. Now we will install the Tomcat or start the Tomcat. This will we'll use the opt apache tomcat startup.sh. This startup.sh will create a service to install the Tomcat, right? So Tomcat will be installed. We will wait for some time, and then we'll start this localhost 88 using the 8080. We will access our Tomcat server, right? So this is done. So this will install the Tomcat. Now we'll understand the node exporter. Node exporter is also installed in the Tomcat server. If you can see the Tomcat server, this is the become true means it will have the admin root privileges to install this. Task what we'll do, first of all, we'll download the node exporter from the official website. Node exporter 1.6.0 Linux AMD 64.r, right? So you can go and based on your comment you can download the version, and then we are moving this folder to temp node export this one, and then we will extract this one and push into the local user local win. So inside the local win, we will have our node exporter inside this folder, right? So what we need is we need this node exporter into the win folder, not inside this folder, right? Local user local win, we want the node exporter inside the win. So for that we will create a symbolic link between these two. So what how we can do is the Ansible this bulletin file where will create a symbolic link from user local win node exporter this the node exporter to will escape this folder, right? So user local win node exporter. node exporter should be always be inside the win folder, right? And then state link, it will create a link between these two folders. So once it is done, so our node exporter is inside the win folder, right? Now what we'll do is we will create a service file, right? Service file, so that we this node exporter will run as a service, right? So now this is it is node exporter and services. User will node exporter will be user, group will be node exporter, type simple, and the start from user local win node exporter, this one, right? We'll get the file from here and then we'll start, and destination is etc etc system d system node exporter dot service, right? Now we will create a user, and say we'll build an user where name is user, and when west false means it will not have the login, console login to this. It will the user will be as a service user. It will not have any login to the shell. Set permission for the exporter binary. Now here will the path is user local bin node exporter. This user should have access to this node exporter, right? So we'll give 05 while owner access to this one, so that it can use or run everything from here. Now we will start the service. How the name is node exporter restarted rem and reload. Yes, this will restart our service. So this way we will install and run our node exporter into the Tomcat server. Now let's go and understand the Prometheus. Again, we are deploying the Prometheus into monitoring server, right? Not the Tomcat server. As a root user, this is important. We are creating a variable node exporter host. Means will get the node exporter IP. Node exporter is in Tomcat server, right? So how we can get their IP address, the private IP address. We don't want the public IP address. We want private IP address, right? Otherwise it won't work. So private IP address, because these two are get connected, because we have already given ingress. We have created ingress rule for public BPC, right? So we'll understand that one also. So node exporter, this one, host var, right? So inside the this will get our data from our inventory, dynamic inventory, where we have defined the host var group, the Tomcat servers. From the Tomcat server 0, we will get the private IP. If you can go and see this one, host var Tomcat server. Inside the inventory, we will go to the Tomcat server host var and the private IP. Give me a minute. See, first of all, we will check the host var private IP. This private IP we will get the here is the host var, right? Host var 0 and private IP this. So host var is our Tomcat server, right? So we'll give the Tomcat here. Sorry, Prometheus. This Tomcat server 0 private IP. So this will get our private IP address of Tomcat, and then we'll right we'll see how we can configure the the node exporter with our Prometheus, right? So we have to configure the you know so we'll see how to configure the node exporter with Prometheus, right? So first of all, we'll get the IP address of the node server. We'll update the package, install the Prometheus, name Prometheus present, and copy Prometheus configuration. Okay, so we'll copy Prometheus configuration. How to copy templates Prometheus we have the template folder. Inside the template folder we will Prometheus yml.j2. This will be copy and push into etc prometheus.yaml. Here we will paste, and then we'll restart this Prometheus. And again we are restarting this handler will restart our Prometheus again, right? So this is done. Now we'll understand the Prometheus YML to J2. This is the global configuration of the Prometheus to configure the scrapping, right? Here, what is the scrap? Scrap is basically uh, it will configure our targets. Target means the node exporter, right? So what are the configuration is required? The scrap interval means in this interval it will connect with the scrap and get the matrices, right? The node exporter will generate the matrices, and Prometheus will get this matrices and then push into the Grafana 2 for the dashboard, right? You can also see details in Prometheus, but Prometheus is not the give a very look and feel and dashboard, so that we will use Grafana to give a good look and feel, right, and easy to understand. So it will scrap interval is basically will after this period it will Prometheus will ask for the matrices from node exporter, right? And evaluation interval is basically if any notification rules are there, that will be evaluated. Scrap config will configure the scrap. First of all, the scrap uh, name will give the job name or scrap name. This scrap name have the static configuration where we will define the target. Target means from where we will get the matrices. So we will define the node exporter host here. So node exporter colon 9100. So node exporter will access on 9100, right? So this node explorer IP will be get from your Prometheus here. We have defined the variable. This variable get the public IP address from the dynamic inventory, and this IP address will push into our data scrapping configuration of a scrap, right? So this way our Prometheus and node exporter, these two are in different machine, will get connected, and then finally we will use the Grafana, right? So Grafana is basically uh, again it will be installed on the monitoring server, become as a root, and here node exporter host monitoring server 0. So we are not using here, so this is just I defined, we can remove it, we are not using. So what we are doing is we are just installing apt key url is this. We have to add the repository. From repository is http package grafana com.gpg.key present, and Grafana API repository. Again we have to define this repository here, and then it will install, and then install using these repository will install our Grafana using Grafana present, name will be Grafana present. We'll install the Grafana using these repository, and then we will start our Grafana server from here, right? So the service, so this will be install our Grafana into monitoring server. We have understood these things. Now Tomcat and Ubuntu is for Terraform, Tomcat is for Ansible, and now understand the Jenkins. So Jenkins files, first of all we are using an agent. In this agent we are using the label DevOps. So we will see label, how we can define the label. I won't create a agent today in this tutorial. We already have some video on this, you can go and watch. or if you have any queries, question in any process, you can just comment, you know uh, comment me. I'll definitely guide you. I will use git as a tool. This is the important environment variable. So first of all, access key id, secret key id, and aws default reason. So this will inject our this variable to the environment variable. So how we can get the environment variable? This is credential. Like, this is the, we have created the credentials. You, the credential name in AWS cred ID. There is credential ID, and it is the cred password. This is the secret access, secret key, and this is the access key, secret key, and this is the reason. So I haven't created any because this is not sensitive data, so I'm just directly passing the reason for this, right? And it will inject our variable into our environment variable for the this agent, right? Now we have different stages. First stages, just we are checking the git version. It is not required, was for when I was doing the debugging, I just put to see the git version. It is not required. First of all, checkout. In this checkout, will download or the repository from the GitHub, right? In this format, Tomcat, Ubuntu, and Jenkins file. And then we are copying. So why we are copying? See, this monitor dot pem file, right? We can't you know push into any GitHub or any repository, right? So what I have done is, I have already push this or save this monitoring tool inside my inside my you know, node or slaves, in this folder: home, ubuntu, host drive, tomcat. This folder I have already saved it. So I will copy from there and push into this tomcat folder, right? This tomcat folder is basically my project folder, and this is folder is somewhere in our this one. This location is somewhere in our slaves folder, right? Slaves machines folder. So I will copy this pem file from slaves machine folder to this project downloaded from a repository, and then we'll copy to the tomcat folder. It is required monitoring.pem to connect our machine into aws, right? You can also do, there are many ways, right? Either you can push into the slaves. If you do not want to use slaves, right, and your jenkins is already installed in ubuntu server, right, on linux, then in that case you don't need this one. So my jenkins machine is installed on windows machine, and the that's what I'm using ubuntu machine as a mm, as a node, right, or slaves. So all these the in this process will be done into the ubuntu machine in my local ubuntu machine, right? You can create a aws machine also, that is also working fine, right? Anywhere you can create a node and connect. If you do not want to use any node, you want to use windows machine as well, that is also fine. But you have to change ss to bat command, sh to bat command, right? But in that case also the ansible won't work. So either you have to do some install the ansible into windows. There are multiple ways to install the ansible in windows. So there are multiple ways, right? So you can do that. Or you have the ubuntu machine, that is install jenkins is also installed in ubuntu machine. Then you don't need to use this one. You just need to copy your tomcat file from somewhere and put onto the tomcat folder, right? So once it is done, then we will create the infrastructure. First of all, we'll move to the ubuntu folder, because we are in jenkins file folder. First of all, we'll move to the ubuntu folder. So dir ubuntu, it will move to ubuntu folder. Then we will run our command terraform init, terraform validate, terraform plan, terraform apply. So you can use your own. And auto approve means it will not ask for yes and no. So if you are removing auto approve, then won't work, right? Manual intervention will be there. So it is better to use auto approve to automatically finish your apply command to create your infrastructure. This will create two machine into AWS. Then verify host. This is not required. I just use this stage because I want to show you how the dynamic inventory return the data, right? So I just executing Python 3 ec2.py. This is the inside the Tomcat. Inside the Tomcat, you can see ec2.py. So I'm just running this separately. It will return the inventory file, right? So we will discuss, and then we will install the Tomcat. We'll go to the Tomcat folder, inside the Tomcat folder, and then we will give sudo chmod this ec2.py. So first of all, we need to give access to the ec2.py file, otherwise it will not work. So chmod plus x ec2.py. So we'll give the access to the this file. Also, we will give access to the monitor.pem file, otherwise it will give you an error saying that it is too open, right? So now Ansible will run Ansible playbook I hyphen I ec2.py. This is the inventory, dynamic inventory. It will give us a dynamic inventory file, and playbook hyphen tomcat.yaml. This will install our Tomcat server into the Tomcat server machine. Same, will again go to the Tomcat. Inside the Tomcat, we'll again give the access to the ec2.py and the monitoring.py, and then we'll run Ansible playbook dynamic inventory hyphen I ec2.py, and inside the playbook we have the node exporter.yaml file. So we'll run Ansible playbook to run this file. So this will install the node exporter. Next stage is install Prometheus. Again, we'll move to the Tomcat folder. Inside the Tomcat folder, we'll give the access to the ec2.py and monitor.pem file. Then we'll run Ansible playbook hyphen I ec2.py in dynamic inventory, and then prometheus.yaml file. This will install the prometheus.yaml file into the monitor.server file. And last, install Grafana. This is also will move to the Tomcat, and then again give access to the ec2.py ch mode 600 monitor.pem, and then we will run grafana.yaml file. This will install the Grafana, right? So this is done. Let's move to the MS Paint. I want to make you understand. Let's suppose it will create two machine, right? First machine is uh, node exporter. This is the node exporter in AWS, and then private IP. Let's suppose 10.1.1.0. I'm just giving an example, right? So it will create node exporter private IP this, and it will have some public IP also. Now I have another. It will create another node exporter. Not no. This is node exporter. Basically Tomcat server, right? And another machine. This is the Prometheus Prometheus, right? And this machine is Tomcat server, and this machine is monitor server, right? And this will have private IP, suppose 10.1.1.1. This is the private IP this have. So by default, these two machines cannot get connected, but Prometheus want to connect with node exporter to get the matrices from here in Prometheus, right? And then you can do anything in Prometheus, these matrices, and you can also pass to the Grafana, right? So this cannot be get connected by default. So what we can do is, give me a minute. Let me copy that. I was here. Okay, so I had this one. I just configure this one. So let's understand, this will make a connectivity between these two with only private IP. Okay, so ingress, it will open all these port, all the protocols, right? And AWS BPC technique can group BPC. Inside this BPC, all the cider block, right? Either this will be inside the cider block. All these machine will get connected with all port, all protocols. So in that case, now the Prometheus, as I discussed, right, the Prometheus need the private IP to get access this node exporter. We can also use the public IP, but I don't want to expose the public IP for this, right? And it will be automatically done. So we will do this connectivity first, and then it will get connected. So this is what we want to understand. Now, one by one, we will see the prerequisites. Let's move to the browser and see. So first of all, we'll go to the AWS. Here we can see there is no machine over here. Now we will go and see the IAM, search IAM, click on IAM, create user. I have already created one video where I have seen to create how to create users and all those things, right? You can go and watch. You can go and create a new user. You can give any name here. Don't click here, otherwise it will give you the and attach policy, right? So you need to attach two policy over here. One is EC2. Click on this, and again you need to create BPC. These two permission is required. BPC, this one, and now you can go and create. I have already created a user, so I don't need it, right? So I'll show you what. So once you create on your user, click on security credentials, and then go to access key and create a access key. You have to give some name, and then it will give you access key and secret key. So save those access key and secret key that will be used in Jenkins, right? So first of all, we need to create this access key and secret key for these permission, right? Two permission is required. One permission is for one permission for EC2, complete access of EC2 and BPC. So once it is done, we will go to the EC2 again, and then we will create a PEM file. Go to the network section and click on key pair. Inside the key pair, here you need to create a key pair. I have already created this key pair, so I don't want to create. I will show you. You just click on key pair, give the name, click on PEM file .pem, and if you want to give any tags or just give the name RAC and PEM file or create a key pair. This will download a key pair for you. Save that key pair into your node. I have show you, right, to copy from one folder, copy from a folder inside the node to a Tomcat folder, right? So that is required. So once it is done, now we will go to the GitHub. Inside the GitHub, we have already pushed our code into here, right? You can see all the Jenkins, Ubuntu, the same, right? I have the Technique and Guru setup monitor, right? The same code is here. So don't have any change over here. Same folder structure EC2, right? So we'll use this one. So how we can use? We need we need this URL, right? This URL we required. So this is done. Okay, so AWS we have done the inside the Jenkins. Let's go to the Jenkins and see the things we have done in the Jenkins. We have understood the GitHub and AWS. Now we'll go to Jenkins, and inside Jenkins we will click on Manage Jenkins, and this Manage Jenkins we will click on Node. We have already created Node, and this is online, right? If it is offline, it should have some red cross button over here. So I have already created name, giving the name monitor tool. Click here. We have two labels, DevOps and monitor. We have used the DevOps, right? And if you want to show the configuration, click on configure. I'll show you the name. The remote directory is home Jenkins, only one executor. Label is DevOps monitor, nothing else. One more thing I have done, the tool location. So I have given the git is installed in this location in my slaves, right? You slash usr slash bin slash git, right? So this is done. You can save and see the node is still running, right? So if node is running, this is done. One more configuration we required is, mm, go to Manage Jenkins and credentials. Click on System and Global Credentials. Here I have already created AWS Cred ID, AWS password. So Cred ID basically the access key, and Cred ID password equals to a secret key, right? Access key, ID, and secret key. So how you can create? You can click on Add, say secret text, give your access key over here. ID name, you can say any name, right? Access key, access key or cred access key, this will be the access key. Or you can define the secret key first, right? So we have access key and secret key. So first we need to define the access key, and we will provide the access key here, right? And create. One time we'll create, next time we'll again create the new credentials, and then secret key, and here secret key or AWS secret key. You can give the name ID, and this ID will be used into Jenkins in our this code. If you can go to here, Jenkins file, this cred, AWS cred ID, AWS cred password. So here we have to give ID, right? AWS access key cred ID, access key over here, cred ID, access key. Then credential, AWS cred password, means here I have given AWS cred pass here, and secret key over here, and save it. So this way we will create two credentials over here, and then we will move it. So we have seen the prerequisites in AWS, GitHub, and Jenkins. Now we'll go and see the prerequisites in our node, right? So let's move to the node. So here is my node. I have logged in with Jenkins, right? And yeah, what I want to check is, first of all, I want to check the Terraform is installed. So let's see, Terraform version. See, Terraform version v1 8.2, and want to see the git version. See, git is also installed. Ansible version, the Ansible is also installed. Let's see the uh, Python version. Oh, Python is not found. Let's I think we have Python 3. See, Python 3 is also installed. Pip, well, let's see, pip version. Pip is also installed. Now Boto, how to check pip show Boto 3, this is required, right? So you see, name Boto 3 1.34.9. So Boto, for Boto we need pip and Python. So these should be installed on your machine. Let me check if anything else we missed or nothing. Now we are done. Now let's go and have the demo, right? So we'll go to the Jenkins and see the demo. Now we are in Jenkins. So what we will do is, we will create a new pipeline. Let's say new pipeline. We'll say setup morning. Okay, setup monitoring pipeline. Let's say okay. Okay, so it's create. This will create infra for monitoring tools and install all the required tools automatically. Okay, that's it. And here we don't need anything. Let's say pipeline script, the Jenkins file we have. We want to get a script file, Jenkins file, a repository URL. Will go here, setup monitor, and we'll copy this and credential. I have already set up the credentials. I will use one of them. So if you are new, you can go to my previous video in Jenkins and see how to create a credentials. Master. So I think we have the main branch, not the master branch. So we will use main branch. Correct. Nothing else. I think we are done. Let's save and apply. So our pipeline is ready. We'll see there is no machine is here in AWS. Go to instance. See, there is no machine available here. So the code is ready. Now we will build our pipeline here. Click on build. Let's click on your job, running job, and go to console. It gave us some error. It installed these two machines. You can go and see into the AWS. And refresh it. Okay, it is in Mumbai region. So I think my internet is little slow. Maybe because of sometime if your internet is not working in between, it can broken, right? So we'll debug. You can see it is taking a lot of time. You can see there are two machine has been created, monitor server and Tomcat server with these IP address. Okay, double two, 3422 and 3.110.113.133.133.133.98. So let's go to Jenkins and let's copy the workspace folder and go to the cd go to your workspace folder into your node server or slaves. It is already downloaded EC2 monitor and this, right? Let's now what we want to do. It is doing filling in where here. Okay, filling in this one. Let's copy and see if there are any issue. uh, SSH I monitor Ubuntu at the rate SSHI monitor.pem Ubuntu at 287. Okay, it is logged in. It means, see, you can see when I was doing this, it was giving some error. Maybe sometimes if your network connectivity is not done, maybe it can broken, right? So exit from this machine and run your Jenkins again. Let's go. And there is no issue. It maybe because of some uh, issue on my network connectivity. It is taking a lot of time. You can see if I click on the button, it is taking time. My network a little bit slow, so that may be a problem. Let me refresh this. So what I will do is I will build it again because my network is slow. That is maybe a problem, right? So let's build it again. Click on the another build and go for log. So we'll wait for until um, the job is done. The Tomcat is already installed. Let's copy this and put it here. 8080. Run it. Yeah, you can see the Tomcat is installed in this machine, the Tomcat server. Now it is going to install the node exporter. Once it is installed, then we'll see the node exporter as well. Yeah, done. So for the node exporter, save. This will be 9100. Enter and slash matrix. You can see all the matrix is here for Tomcat server. Now let's go. Uh, it's install Prometheus. Prometheus is also installed. Let's go and check 9090 port. This is the another port, right? Monitoring server. Let us save. It's again saying failed to connect with host by SSH. Verification failed. Let's go and check this one also. We'll go to here, and if you this one, right, with monitoring, uh, SSH hyphen I monitor and Ubuntu at IP address. You can see we can, it is reachable, right? So you can go and run it again. Maybe because of this error I see, I'm getting error on my machine for the network issue. We have tested this many time, right? Build now. Oh my god, many build. Cancel view one. Yes. Okay, I think we have cancelled all. One, and then check the console output. Now the Prometheus and Grafana is installed. Let's check. We'll understand this log later. So this is the IP address, monitoring IP address. Go to here. Let's first of all we'll see 9090 for Prometheus. See, Prometheus is now running, up and running. We can select. We can see if the node exporter is already in setup. So see node CPU second total, execute. See all these details is here, right? It means it is coming from node exporter, right? Now let's open the same IP address with 3030 3000. Sorry, this is for Grafana port, right? So once you open this link, it will ask you for the login. So by default credential is admin. So I will use the same user ID admin, and password is also admin. Login, it will ask me to change the password. Let's change. I have changed the password, but it is still not coming, right? So because the Grafana and Prometheus are installed in the same server, right? So we can use a local host. So what, how we can connect, do the connectivity, go to the connection and data source. You can search for Prometheus. See, you can select, you can go to connection, add connection, and Prometheus. Once you Prometheus and say add new data source, here you can select the local host, say HTTP localhost 9090, right? Because it is on the same server. Otherwise, you have to give the proper IP address if they are different, and the authentication method, because in the same server we don't have the authentication for now. And we will go for save and test. So this is done. So connectivity is done. So we have created a data source as Prometheus. So the VTXs will be get from the Prometheus. Now we'll go to the dashboard, and inside the dashboard we'll create a new dashboard here. and we will create from import dashboard. Click on import, and I will click on Grafana. I want to import a dashboard from the node exporter, right? So I will click on this and come down a bit. Either you can search here node exporter, already there node exporter, right? So I will click this one, or you can search node exporter, then you can select this node exporter one. So this will be the our dashboard will be look like this node exporter, right? So I will click on this. So once you click on node exporter full, you have to come down and to copy id to clipboard. So come to the import dashboard in Grafana, paste your ID here and load. Here come down and you have to select Prometheus, select this data source as Prometheus and import. As soon as you import, you will see it's not coming. Why? Let's see. It is connecting to this data source. No data is available. We have to do some. It means the Grafana is not able to connect with the uh, Prometheus, because Prometheus is getting data over here, right? CPU. Yeah. Now you can see, because we have it was by default, or the default I have selected the Prometheus and job is node exporter, right? Not node, and it will give you the details, the CPU, the RAM used, and this root. Yes, you can go in details for the memory, CPU bases, and the or other details, the network traffic, memory here, everything you can see in details, right? So these dashboard will be very useful when we are monitoring our Tomcat server. Now go to the Jenkins and we'll understand this logs, right? So what is this log is doing? So if you can see, first of all, it is masking the secret key and key. It is giving the version, and then you can see the Terraform init and initializing the Terraform plan, and plan it will show you how many resources are being created for this, and the public IP address for monitor, and Tomcat server, this, right? And then this is the Python 3, right? If you can see meta host var, and the public IP of this user Ubuntu and civil, the key file is monitoring. So uh, how we can getting the um, public IP, host var, then groups, and then we are using a Tomcat server and then private IP, right? So it is using host var, Tomcat server, and private IP of this Tomcat server. This Tomcat server private IP is 10.0.1.75. If you can go and see 10.0.1.75.900, right? This is coming from uh, the mm, the node exporter IP address, right? So Prometheus job is node exporter, right? Node exporter we have defined into our the scrap document, scrap file, right? And we have defined the node exporter IP address and then port. Now we have understood this one, and then it is creating the created the machine, and then we are running the Tomcat. In the Tomcat, it is creating the Tomcat server, then running the node exporter. It is creating the node exporter, the same IP, right? For Tomcat server. Now we are going to create the Prometheus different IP address. This is the monitoring IP address, and then we are installing Grafana, the Grafana IP address. So you need not to go and check the machine is working using SSH, right? I'm just troubleshooting why it is happening, because of my machine is too slow. If your connectivity is broken somewhere, then this issue may happen, right? So don't worry, this will work uh, smoothly. Don't worry about it. I have already pushed this code into the GitHub. You can go and check it out. Let's move to the slide now. So we have already seen the demo. Now feel free to leave any question or comment in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. If your question is common issue that other might benefit from, I will consider creating a dedicated video to address it. Your feedback and engagement are greatly appreciated. So one thing I want to highlight, this video I have created because one of my subscriber kept he were having some issues on setting up the monitoring tool on AWS. So and I have considered this video because this issue maybe face a lot of user can face the same issues. So this will help to other as well. So thank you, Kev, for suggesting for this video. We have reached the end of our presentation. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found it helpful. Have a fantastic day. Take care and goodbye.